Vintage collection Skeletor. Yes. Okay. So, first off, just looking in there, he looks sick. I mean, that big body there, that looks like it really pushes him. It looks like it makes him a lot more dangerous looking. I don't know. I might feel a certain way about it when I get him open. He's absolutely bare bones Skeletor. We're looking at Skeletor armor. We're looking at the hood. We're looking at the Havoc Staff, the Dark Sword. Because originally the storyline for these guys, okay, is, as I've argued many, many times when we talk about MOTU, I talk about how there was a mini-comic story, there was an action figure story, and every single time, these are different. MOTU is one of the most malleable properties I have ever seen in my entire life, and I love it for it. One of the things that I hate is when we shrink universes. When we go, oh, that guy's actually his cousin, his this, that, blah, blah, blah. And like everybody's like, oh, that makes the world so tight and expansive. I disagree. I think that when you make Skeletor Keldor, and all of a sudden he's related and he's a part of the family and everything else, I actually think you've taken this big, expansive, scary universe and pulled it into itself. There's something terrifying about a demon-esque sorcerer character that gets dropped into Eternia like a plague. And he's not the only thing out there. You don't know what else could come from anywhere else now that we've done that. And you don't know what he could bring with him if he gets back home somehow. That's way more terrifying to me than Uncle Bad Guy. Uncle Bad Guy has more of an opera thing to it. It's more of an opera, like a space opera, a drama opera to it. It pulls the universe in and makes it real tight, and then you can tell a million stories because of it. But I actually don't think it's as scary as where'd he come from? What is he? What happens if he gets back home? What would he bring back with him? That is scary. If you disagree, you disagree. And guess what? That's fine. Because in MOTU, the toys are their own storyline. They really are. You can 100% tell by the way the mini-comics were released. The mini-comics didn't follow their own story from mini-comic to mini-comic. They were just suggestions. And heck, I know a lot of people act like Skeletor revealed that he was Keldor back in the mini-comics. He did not. I have read them directly. I don't know what Wikipedia everybody else is reading and what people have headcanoned. That is not what he said. He never admitted to actually being Keldor. He admitted that the revival he admitted that if they found out what happened to Keldor, it could be bad for him. And that's as far as he ever got with that. They never finished that storyline. We don't know where it would have went. And if you want to say, oh, well, writers have said this, that's also not 100%, because just like the reveal of the Green Goblin, there were a couple people in the running to be Green Goblin before it was revealed that it was Norman Osborn. And before it was revealed that it was Norman Osborn, there's still an awful lot of talk that Ditko left the book because he disagreed with that, and he was basically overruled on the idea that he was already laying down. So that's the way these things go when there's a bunch of hands in the pots. We don't know what this thing was actually ever meant to be. This is original Skeletor. This is vintage Skeletor. And the original storyline behind this about Castle Grayskull in general was they each had a sword. Almost like Shining Force's Chaos Breaker. There was a dark side and a light side, and if you put them together, it would create this Master Sword, a key to the castle. And whomever could do this, one of these guys was going to die, either He-Man or Skeletor. One of them was going to die. And that would give somebody both swords. And when both swords came together, they could open up the castle. And inside the castle were the secrets of the universe. Secrets so shocking and so unbelievable that it would fold reality in on itself. It was something we can't even fathom. Me and you, we can't even speculate what's actually in those walls. And I kind of like what they did in the DC comics, where Eternia is actually the center of all reality, and that's the reason it is the way that it is. And as that universe fights good and evil, that's what affects the multiverse at large. So as evil starts to win in Eternia, dark waves kind of resonate out through the universe and affect the multiverse of DC. Because yes, these were DC properties for a while. Those are solid comics, by the way. Very, very good. I love MOTU. I do. And it's stuff like that that makes me love it. The infinite expanse of interesting things that we can talk about. And I don't have to be right, but I also don't have to be wrong, and you don't either. If you like the Keldor thing, that's 1,000% on the table, and you can run with it for as long as you want, because there's nothing stopping you from doing so. That has been an official storyline since the 2000X series that made it, put it in your face and said, this is a thing. But it wasn't in the original He-Man cartoon. He never says that. He never hints to it. And you even go to his world, his weird, screwed up dimension in one of the episodes, and Keldor doesn't come from another dimension. So you see what I mean? Every storyline is interesting because every time we reset the continuity of these, it's like I argued in the She-Ra video. Guys, this is like rolling up a D&D character. And even if you play it the same every time, it's different adventures, different setting, different world, different scenarios with different outcomes, which lead to a different story. The most malleable property I have ever seen. And now he's got a big chest. So let's open him. Okay. So, he comes with that sword, and it's kind of got a shine to it. It's that dark purple, but it's got that nice shine to it, which I kind of like. Kind of gives you the idea that there's like a dark energy that kind of runs through it. Or like maybe this is a type of metal that we don't understand, and this could be a natural state of the color of that metal. That's even kind of cool too. He has one of those expression hands, but I kind of like this one more than the Skeletor that is currently my favorite Skeletor in the line. Because it's more like this, and the other expression hands that we've been getting are like this. Case in point, because I will be comparing him, that's the expression hand that we're used to. That's the expression hand he got. I like this more. Well, which actually sits more in the realm of the original releases. The original releases, they had a hand that was like this. So that's cool. And Origins does as well. He also has this punching hand. And he, of course, comes with the fantastic Havoc staff. This time being all purple to kind of reference that it's very much like the old toy. This is a vintage type of figure. It's the idea that we took the 1980s toy and we brought it up into Masterverse. But we didn't reimagine it this time. We modernized it in Masterverse style, like we did with the 40th He-Man. I like that. It's different than this. This, I argue, my favorite one, which is I believe this is the Barbarian Skeletor. What they do with this one is they take Skeletor and they reimagine him for the Masterverse line. Had original Skeletor come out in the Masterverse line, exactly Masterverse build. This is the Masterverse buck, Masterverse design, more of a Masterverse face. This is what it would be. I like that, and so far he's my favorite Skeletor of the line. I've absolutely loved this guy. This is not that. This is the big, bulky, reimagined, but staying as true to the original toy as we possibly can, original vintage figure, even down to the feet. What am I talking about? These were just like big, purple, angry alien feet. These were not. They had metal There was an armor here, and then they were just like actual skin, weird, kind of like demon-y feet. Not the same thing here. That was not the same thing that we got in this one. This one has those old style feet, which I think is actually kind of cool. He is big, man. That chest is not joking. And yet, even still, as I've had this argument a couple times with different people, and it's not an argument. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. It is not an argument. It is just the way that I feel when I view this line. I like this more. This body still makes more sense to me than the Classics body. I just didn't like toys in that era. I didn't like DC Classics. I didn't like MOTU Classics. It was the sculpt. It was the bucks. I didn't like the bucks of the time, and I was out of toy collecting at the time. A big portion of it because when I would go to the store and I would see toys, I wouldn't go, "Oh man, I'm missing out." I would go, "Oh," and then I would move on. It did not catch my attention. I like this. This seems more believable to me. It's still big. It's way bigger than the others in the line because it's more of a vintage. It's a big, big body. But it's still a big body that, like, I feel makes more sense. It just feels more realistic to me. Feels like a more human body. I like this. There's just enough paint to kind of lift this. It's got that purple. It kind of pops out. It's nice. I don't know. It's tiny details on a figure that looks like this that really helps it. Like these little purple things here. That really helps it. It kind of pushes it. It's the smallest of details, but you notice it when nothing else is really painted. It kind of makes those other details that have gone out of their way to be painted really pop. I mean, it pushes them out there. Like that little purple dot there, the purple dot there. The rest of this is all just left alone. But those little dots, it feels like your eyes are drawn more to that detail because there's not any detail here otherwise. So you notice the other things. I really, really like his Skeletor hood, his face. That is super creepy. Like, here, let me see if I can, let me just fix this real quick. I want to get the focus on him. See that? That is beautiful. I love that it has that red, but it's real deep in there. So as it turns, it almost seems like the eye turns and looks at you because the light hits that red that's so deep in there that it almost feels like the eyes are moving. That is sick. This guy is nice. Like, he's nice. Wow, that's good. And that, like, nasty bone color, that green, that's gross. And it should be, right? It should be. He should be gross, right? That's beautiful. That's beautiful. His head does have some resistance. It could just be that he's kind of new. But, like, it feels like the hood is almost a little bit in his way. Like, he doesn't really look down. He doesn't really look up. He kind of looks to the side. I mean, he can. You can see it. He can turn his head all the way around and everything like that. But, like, you notice it. You notice that the hood is kind of in his way because his body's almost in the way. That's what I say. He's so big. But, boy, is he cool, right? Wow, that's good. Underneath this is just your standard little the belt thing that we've had on everybody else. So I like that they have this. All of it's the little buttons and straps, so you can easily take this off if you want or keep it on. And another detail that I like about things like MOTU, it's a mild thing, but I think it's a big deal. His original concept is that he's, and I'm telling you, his original concept is that he's not Keldor. And his feet are part of that. When they released Keldor Skeletor in the Origins wave, he's wearing boots. He has human feet. He's wearing boots. I know that's something that makes us go, oh, well, that's such a minor detail. But is it a minor detail or is it on purpose? When they released that Skeletor, the Keldor Skeletor in Origins, they released him with human boot feet. And they did not give you an option to swap his feet. Now, it's true, if you just have a Skeletor, you could just do that. But they didn't do that. They gave you the head to swap. They gave you an armor piece to swap. They gave you 2 different weapons. They went through a lot of trouble to make sure that you could change from one figure to the next. They didn't include the feet. I think that's on purpose. I think by the way that they're viewing it, when they release the figure, Keldor Skeletor is different than original Demon Feet Skeletor. They were different concepts, different ideas. I like that. I think that works. I think it really pushes the idea that I've been arguing for a long time now, that this is a line all about malleability. This line, if I had to break it down and tell you what MOTU is the infinite expanse of imagination. There's nothing you can't get away with in the MOTU universe. There are Terminators in the MOTU universe. I mean, that doesn't make sense. There's a spaceman, a rocket spaceman, and yet we're like, that makes sense, that works. There's sorcerers. There's man-at-arms. There's, which literally is man of war, which is Iron Man. There are kings and queens, but sorceresses. And there's gladiatorial, there's gladiator societies. And there's nothing you can't do. These, MOTU, they're avatars of the imagination. Every character, every figure is an avatar of the imagination with infinite possibilities. If you can imagine it, you can play it out in Eternia. That simple. No more complicated than that. Does he steal the throne? Is he now the best Skeletor in the collection? Give me your staff, buddy. So, I like his slim build. I think there's something about a sorcerer having that slimmer build that's kind of creepy. I like his feet more. I kind of like his armor pieces more, though, than his armor pieces. I like this curved sword, but that's not the argument we're having here. The faces? I like the red in those eyes, but I might like the slender skull here more than I like the big skull here. But I like both of them for different reasons. Ooh, man. That would be tough. If I had to say 100% right now, he's my new figure, so I have that new feeling, new oohs and ahs. But he's my oldest, most loved Skeletor in terms of, he's my favorite Skeletor on the shelf. Oh, that's tough. I like them both for very different reasons. And you know what? I don't have to pick. But right now, I'm still kind of leaning towards him for minor reasons. I feel like this is such a fantastic look. But I will not lie for a second. This is imposing. And that says something too. There's something about him being so big and dangerous, but also I would tell you that that's also part of it. Like him, when I think about him with a sword or whatever, I would keep him more to the staff, and he'd be a guy that kind of stands in the distance and isn't dumb enough. He wouldn't fight close up unless he had to. This guy, though, that sword serves a purpose, and he knows how to use it. I could see this guy using this sword and being very dangerous. And at the same time, I could see this guy using this staff and being a real problem. And by the way, the staff, it's the right size. It needs to touch the ground and be as tall as the person wielding it or a little bit taller. Perfect staff. Perfect staff. Havoc staff. Perfect staff. I also love that deep color. I like that deep color more than I like this color. I will say that. I like these purples more. Skeletor. Vintage. Added to the shelf.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.